Mother, Father, God, how great thou art, how infinite, how wonderful. You are so very close, so very near. My breath begins and ends with you. My breath begins and ends with you. Mother, Father, God, how great thou art. You care for me, I care for you, and my life is your life. Live through me. My mind is filled with thoughts of you. My mind is filled with thoughts of you. I listen to my blessing that you reveal through me. I listen with aliveness. I hear you speak to me. You were there before my lifetime. You answer before I pray. Your love is everlasting. I'm thankful, so grateful. Be thankful, be grateful. Be grateful, be grateful. Mother, Father, God, how great thou art, how infinite, how wonderful, so very close, so very near. My breath begins and ends with you. My breath begins and ends with you. Oh, thank you. My breath begins and ends with you. My breath begins and ends with you.
We are one. We are one. We are all one in God. We are love. We are love. We are all the love of God. Beauty surrounds me, falling at my feet as I hear the calling of the Holy One in me. We are whole. We are whole. We are all the wholeness of God. We are strength. We are strength. We are all the strength of God. Beauty surrounds me, falling at my feet as I hear the calling of the Holy One in me. We are made, we are made, we are all made of God. We are one, we are one, we are all one in God. We are one in God. We are one in God. We are I see the beauty in you, I see the power in you, I see the greatness in you, and so it is. I see the child in you, I see the sweetness in you, I see the softness in you, and so it is. I can see it, it's right there before me. I can feel it deep in my soul. I just know it, that you are an angel full of magic and power and pure sweet love. I see the goodness in you, I see the wisdom in you, I see the strength in you, and so it is. I see the joy that's in you, I see your light shining through, I see the love that's in you, and so it is. I can see it, it's right there before me. I can feel it deep in my soul. I just know it, that you are an angel full of magic and power and pure sweet love. I see the grace that's in you, I see the courage in you, and I see the heart that's in you, and so it is. And I see the beauty in you, I see the power in you, I see the greatness in you, and so it is. I see the beauty in you, I see the beauty in you, I see the power in you, I see the power in you, and I see the greatness in you, I see the greatness in you, and I see the goodness in you now. I see the goodness in you, and I see the wisdom in you, I see the wisdom in you. Oh, I see your strength, your strength. I see the strength in you, and I see your joy, joy, joy. I see the joy in you, and I see your light shining, light. I see the light in
Mother, Father, God, how great thou art, how infinite, how wonderful. You are so very close, so very near. My breath begins and ends with you. My breath begins and ends with you. Mother, Father, God, how great thou art. You care for me. I care for you. And my life is your life. Live through me. My mind is filled with thoughts of you. My mind is filled with thoughts of you. I listen to my blessing that you reveal through me. I listen with aliveness. I hear you speak to me. You were there before my lifetime. You answer before I pray. Your love is everlasting. I'm thankful, so grateful. Be thankful, be grateful. Be grateful, be grateful. Mother, Father, God, how great thou art, how infinite, how wonderful, so very close, so very near. My breath begins and ends with you. My breath begins and ends with you.
Good morning. Come on in, everybody. It's time to start. Welcome to Unity of Bellevue. We are so grateful if you are joining us in person or online. We are grateful for your soul's presence with us. It enriches us and blesses us. Today is a special day for a number of reasons. First of all, it's Juneteenth, and it's Father's Day. It's also the last Sunday of our interim period, so that's exciting. Yes. So today we welcome you in the name of peace, in the spirit of love and of celebration. We are celebrating Juneteenth. As we said, it's a new federal and now a new state holiday. Just a little bit about Juneteenth. It's the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in our country. It started in Galveston, Texas in 1865, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, because it took that long for the slaves in Texas to be notified that they had been freed officially. And when that news came to them, the celebration started, and it has continued since that day. So it commemorates African-American freedom and emphasizes education and achievement. This is from the Juneteenth website. It is a time for reflection and rejoicing, a time for assessment, self-improvement, and for planning the future. In cities across the country, people of all races, nationalities, and religions are joining hands to truthfully acknowledge a period in our history that shaped and continues to influence our society. Sensitized to the conditions and experience of others, only then can we make significant and lasting improvements to our society. So we're happy to celebrate Juneteenth with all of our siblings in the United States. We're also celebrating Father's Day. So this is the day when we celebrate our fathers and those who have fathered us. It's also a day when we honor all of the ways that the sacred masculine shows up in our lives. So if you are a father, we honor you, and we have a gift for you. Thanks to Rita Schwarting, who brought some gifts for our fathers in attendance. And can we just give a round of applause? And anybody that wants to stand can stand for all of our fathers. Anybody wants to stand online, we see you. Thank you. We have some awesome people helping us lead service this morning. Lori Coleman stepped in last minute to be our meditation facilitator and prayer chaplain today. Thank you, Lori. Our guest speaker is virtual. Reverend Sally Robbins is back with us. We're grateful for her and her teaching. Dorothy Bostutter is with us in person as our board host. Our guest musicians, of course, are Becky and Matt. We know them well, and we're so glad they're back with us. And our song leader, Jamie Sassy, and they're going to take us away.
All right. Good morning, everybody. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need.
Get up, get into it. 1, 2, 3.
God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source.
God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need.
How about some love? Love is my source.
Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need.
Joy.
Joy is my source. Joy is my power. Joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need.
Peace.
Peace is my source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need.
Back to God.
God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. Woo.
We invoke divine abundance. We invoke divine goodness that provides everything we need. We call forth from within us divine grace to celebrate, to honor, to remember all of the ways that the divine shows up for us. We know that all is working together for our good, that divine order is always in charge. We breathe in with a sacred breath, breathing into our core light. We breathe in again more deeply, allowing that light within to expand, to shine more brightly to everyone here, to the world. We send this love and light and peace to Ukraine, to Sudan and Yemen. We bring that light back into this place, holding it here in love. We know this sanctuary, this time is sacred, and each one of us is holy ground. We are so grateful, and so it is.
Okay, we have a little audience participation. There are directions in the lyrics, and you must follow them. This is non-negotiable. This is part of the writer in my contract is that you guys will participate. Yeah? And if you're at home, you don't get off easy either. No. If you're on Zoom, you gotta go on gallery view, and you gotta look at everybody. Here we go. Take a look at the person next to you. Say, I recognize the God in you. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. Okay, that was pretty good. I saw y'all looking at each other. I don't know what you're doing on Zoom, but you better be doing more of it. That's all I can say. All right, here we go. Into the next one. Take a look at the person next to you. Say, God loves you and I love you too. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, from every walk of life.
Every walk of life.
From every creed and color.
Creed and color.
In kinship we unite. In honor of the God in each other. Now take a look at the person next to you. Say namaste and I bow to you. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. 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 In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. 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 In the name of love.
Thank you so much. That was fun. We are focusing on the theme of integrity for the month of June, and our book of the month is Martha Beck's book, The Way of Integrity. It's got lots of great exercises in that, short, fast ones that are just good to just pop open and do some. You can work yourself all the way through the book. There's one copy left in the bookstore, which you can order online or you can buy in the bookstore. I am going to lead us in our monthly affirmation, and I will do that by myself, and then we will repeat together as a community, as one voice, and we will stand when we do that. So, I affirm wholeness and integrity. I love and accept all of the parts of myself, no matter what. I own the places where my unconsciousness is still evolving into full divine consciousness. I allow myself the grace to grow and learn as I integrate at greater depths of my being. I grant this same grace to others. I align with the divine, and this is mine. I am so grateful. And so it is. So let's stand, if able, and affirm together. I affirm wholeness and integrity. I love and accept all of the parts of myself, no matter what. I own the places where my unconsciousness is still evolving into full divine consciousness. I allow myself the grace to grow and learn as I integrate at greater depths of my being. I grant this same grace to others. I align with the divine, and this is mine. I am so grateful, and so it is. You may be seated. We've had Reverend Sally a few times since COVID began, virtually and now remote. We're grateful that we have this technology that allows us to stay connected to our favorite guest speakers. A little bit about Reverend Sally, for those of you who do not yet know her. Reverend Sally discovered New Thought principles at a young age and then found Science of Mind in 1985. She knew she had found a way of life that would serve her well for the rest of her life. She became a minister in 1998 and served as the senior minister of the New Vision Center for Spiritual Living in Phoenix, the Columbia Center for Spiritual Living in Columbia, Maryland, and Celebrate Community Church in Baltimore, Maryland. She is ordained by the Centers for Spiritual Living. Prior to the ministry, she spent over 25 years in the corporate and entrepreneurial world. Her background includes extensive experience in sales and marketing, television and radio advertising, and event production. She is a contributing writer to Science of Mind magazine. We are so grateful again, Reverend Sally, that you are joining us, and we look forward to your powerful wisdom. It always comes through, even at a distance. So we are grateful and look forward to hearing what you have to share with us today. The reading that she has chosen for us is called A Thread of Truth. It's from A Living of Being, Having, and Doing Enough by Wayne Muller. And this particular piece is written by Reese Fullerton. Reese writes, when I was with the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, I worked with a team studying the dynamics and responses to busing and school desegregation in Louisville, Kentucky. We interviewed everyone who had anything to do with the experience. On the day I went to interview individual students, both African American and white, who were attending a previously all-white high school, the teacher who was coordinating my time sent me, to my surprise, not individuals one at a time, but a group of 12 white students. I had already prepared my questions, but instead I asked them about their experience in the past and what had changed with busing and desegregation. The answers were very clear. Everything before was fine, now it was awful. The description of the African American students was horrific. They were dumb, smelly, rude, uneducated, the N-word as bad as you could possibly imagine. One sophomore girl was particularly caustic in her hateful, racist comments and seemed to enjoy using every moment of her time to set the record straight about these terrible lowlifes. The mood in the room had reached a near fever pitch when a knock on the door was followed by my next group to be interviewed, 12 African American students. The hush in the room was instant and palpable. The white students all got up to leave. I said, no, you can stay, please sit down, which they did. I then proceeded to ask the newly arrived students the exact same questions I had asked the white students. The stark reality of the answers: we had no books. Our school was filled with litter and everything was broken. Our teachers were not like the teachers here. The cafeteria was awful. Corroborated the answers of the white students, except that instead of racial stereotypes, here was the very tender human side of these new, grateful students. I realized there was a stifled noise to my left. I looked over and saw the sophomore girl, the one who had been so filled with hate, crying, tears streaming down her cheeks. She stood up and said there was something she needed to say. Between her deep sobs, she told the African American students what she had been saying about them. Everyone in the room started to engage in the conversation, with much of the support given to the sophomore girl coming from the African American students. The discussion turned rigorously honest, courageous, and real, and it forever changed the hearts of each one of us. It was enough to meet each other and tell the truth, to hear each other's stories, enough to learn how profoundly we are all so undeniably connected. When the teacher came to reclaim her students, they sent her away so they could continue talking until they felt they had reached a point where they were done for now. When they walked out to face the rest of the world, they walked out together. We are grateful for the wisdom and the spirit in these words.
Something's calling me. Something's calling me. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Feels like I'm walking on marble. Can't still the earth beneath my feet. And is my head in the clouds, my dead naked legs left dangling? I can feel my heart begin to pound. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Long dark night, my soul it wanders. Can't see the light that moves me. If God is everything and everywhere that I belong, Spirit gently wakes me from my sleep. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Oh Lord, take me deeper than I've ever been before. Oh Lord, pull me deeper than I've ever been before. Oh Lord, guide my feet, Lord, as I walk in integrity. Oh Lord, ever been before. Compassion's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Integrity's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Peace is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. God is calling me, and I'm grateful like I've never been before.
Well, good morning. Good morning, Unity of Bellevue. It's so great to be back with you again. I'm Reverend Sally Robbins, and just what a delight to be with you on your Sunday morning. We're talking about integrity this month, and integrity is something that I think that all of us strive for. And several years ago, I was living in Phoenix. I was serving a church there in that area, and we had a prison ministry. And so I would regularly go into the men's prison and work with some of the inmates there. And one of them was a particularly smart guy. He was very, very quick, and he really had the IQ, but he'd been using it for the wrong things. And I talked to him about that. And I said, you know, what if you could take all of that wisdom and your smarts and just the way you think on your feet, what if you could put that towards good use, to being a positive force in this world? And he said to me, I never grew up with that. I grew up with a sense that you have to be every man for himself. You've got to get your share. Can you identify with that? That's what the world teaches, right? And so he had become a career criminal. He'd been in prison most of his life. But I challenged him that day and I said, would you be willing to consider to live a life of integrity? And we ended up talking about that quite a bit, because that was something that was very new to him, and he didn't even fully understand what that word meant. And so I want to share with you this morning, what does that mean to live in a life of integrity? How do we show up in integrity in our lives? My talk is titled The Wholeness of Integrity, because integrity is about being whole. That's what the word actually means, is being whole. And when we're showing up as our divine selves, that's what pushes us through to that idea that we are here not just to be some human being getting a lot of accumulated goods throughout our lives and then you die one day, but we are here to make a mark of love, to show compassion. I love that last song that Becky and Matt did. I'm showing up as compassion, as integrity, because something is calling me to something deeper. So we're going to dive into that this morning and talk about, how do I live a life that is in integrity with what I am here to do? Because what I'm here to do may be totally different than what you are here to do. We each have to find our own path. So I want to tell you about a book that I've discovered recently. It was published not too long ago. It's called The Secret Society of Success by Tim Scherr. And the reason why this book really kind of stuck with me is he talks about how many of us have been taught all through the years, the world has taught us, that success means that we have fame, that we have fortune, that we have a lot of money in the bank, that we have the right house, the right car, the right marriage. And yet, when we get these things, we end up going, is this all there is? And so what he says in this book, The Secret Society of Success, is that we can't go by that factor any longer. I'm going to share my screen and show you something that he says about that, because it really is valuable for us to take a look at. Tim is actually talking about how when we chase after those things, it's very unfulfilling. He says chasing success for recognition or notoriety is the recipe for a meaningless life. And so when I think about that, I think, you know what? It's time for us to reevaluate what success is. It's time for us to redefine what success is. We're not cookie cutter icons that just go out there and we have to do the same thing and conform all of our lives. What we really should be doing is trying to find a way that we can show up and be an actual force for good in this world. And what does that look like for each one of us? So what if instead of chasing the spotlight, how many likes we get on our posts, how many YouTube views we have, because isn't that the way of the world now? That's how you rack up success, is how many followers you have? What if success was defined very differently by you? What is your version of success? How is it showing up for you? I want to tell you a story about three guys that you probably know very, very well. And these guys are actually in a kind of a category of their own. They achieved great success, and I'll show you let me make sure I get the right slide here. These are the Apollo 11 astronauts. Now, Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Buzz Aldrin. Now, we all know Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin because they became household names. As a matter of fact, that when they took off to land on the moon, because Apollo 11 was the first lunar landing, it became really critical as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin showed up on the moon. They were the ones that went down in the lunar lander, and they were the ones who, one small step for mankind, one giant leap. And so when they did that, they became household names all over the world. Now, Michael Collins, the gentleman in the middle of that photo, he was the one who was circling around the moon, waiting for them to do all they needed to do on the moon. They were down there taking up samples and stepping out and working on the lunar lander. And Michael Collins was up there, and he was the one who was going around the moon waiting for them to finish. And he was basically going to Uber them home because he was their ride. And so Michael Collins was a really critical factor in this team here. While the men were on the moon, President Richard Nixon called through the space satellite and surprised the astronauts, the two that were on the moon, and he just praised them. Oh, Neil Armstrong, oh, Buzz Aldrin, what a great thing you've done. How historical that you're the first men on the moon. Not once did he mention Michael Collins. So they finish what they do on the moon. They go back, and Michael Collins picks them up, and then they go home and they land very safely. Now, while they were down there, he orbited the moon 26 times because he had to make sure that the capsule was in the right place. And so then when they hooked up, they were ready to go. So that was a very, very important part of the success of that mission. Now, when they landed, of course, Aldrin and Armstrong got the lion's share of the publicity, the interviews, and everybody else was like so enamored because they had been the ones who'd stepped on the moon. And you would think that Michael Collins might be, I was up there too. Why aren't I getting my share of the spotlight as well? And yet that wasn't what he did. As a matter of fact, he made sure that when he was interviewed, he said quite the opposite. And this is what he said. He said, I was perfectly happy with the seat that I had, the part that I played in it. All 3 seats were required for mission success. All 3 seats were required for mission success. Now, isn't that a wonderful way to be in a whole way of looking that I'm in integrity when I'm showing up simply as part of a team that is doing something for the greater good? And this is where integrity, sometimes we get caught up because we think that we have to be the one out there in the limelight, the star of the show. And yet Michael Collins was teaching us so beautifully, he was doing his job, and his job was so critical to the mission. So living in integrity means it's not every man for himself. That's not what we're here for. And I think those of us on the path, we have to constantly fight our human side and our spiritual side that knows the higher truth. I want to tell you a story about a professor who gave a balloon to every one of his hundreds of students that he had in his class. And he said, now blow up the balloon. I want you to write your name on the balloon. And then he threw them out in the hallway, and he kind of mixed them up. And he said, okay, I want you to go out there and I want you to find your balloon. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. And when you find your balloon, you know, in those 5 minutes, then just hold it up. Well, no one could find their balloon because there were hundreds in there. So then he said, he pulls them back into the classroom and he says, okay, we're going to try something different this time. I'm going to have you go out into the hallway, and as soon as you find a balloon and see the name on it, I want you to go give it to the person that that belongs to. Within 5 minutes, everyone had their balloon. And I love this story because it gives us the sense that when we are here to help others, that's the integrity that I want to dive into today. The integrity of being on path, with being in alignment, with being a true source of good in this world by showing up and saying, I'm here to do something for the greater good. It doesn't matter what part I play in it. It just matters that I show up and I'm in full alignment with showing up as love and compassion, kindness, all of the wonderful qualities of being in integrity with the divine self that I am. And so when we are looking at that, we know that we can't help is when we're in that realm that we're helping others, we know that we can't help but be helping ourselves. As a matter of fact, Ralph Waldo Emerson, who is the leader of Transcendentalism, he was one of the founders of Transcendentalism, he said this: it is one of the most beautiful compensations of this life that no man can sincerely try to help one another without helping themselves. Wow. So I can't help but be the magnanimous, magnificent, divine creature that I am when I'm out helping others. That's what I want to get across today. When we're living in integrity, our focus is not on ourselves. It is on the greater good of this world. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we get to that place. Well, what does that mean? How do I create that kind of life? And if I'm here to live a life of integrity, the question I want to ask you is this: what's mine to do? What's mine to do? And I want you to know that this can change. This can absolutely change, because what I needed to do when I was 20 years old has changed now that I'm in my 60s. And so we have to be very tuned in to that which Spirit is providing the guidance and direction that we are here to do. I want to tell you about Beverly Sills. Now, she was renowned for her incredible voice. She had this beautiful soprano voice that was just wonderful. And people would come from all over to watch her sing these operatic, wonderful solos that she did with the New York Opera. Well, then she decided to retire one day. And she thought, you know what? I'm here for the greater good of opera. I'm going to now move into the management side of the New York Opera, and because I want to mentor those young people that are coming up and show them the way, and I want to help opera become a greater force in this world. And so as she took on that management role, people inevitably would come up to her and say, oh, Beverly, don't you miss singing? That was just such a wonderful gift that you gave to the world. How could you not keep on singing? And she had a necklace that she had made with the letters IADT, IADT. And she would point to that necklace when people would ask her, why don't you continue singing? What you were so good at that. And she would point to the necklace and she would say this: I already did that. I already did that. And I love that story, because when we're in that place, sometimes we can get caught, can't we? When we're really good at something and we've mastered it and we've become proficient, and the world is acknowledging us and recognizing us for being good at that, sometimes our good gets in the way of our better. And what I mean by that is, sometimes I get comfortable staying in a place that I've been in, maybe even a little too long. And as I do that, I'm blocking the good that is already out there, that is waiting to make its way through me and to become me as God in this world through a whole other avenue that I haven't even dreamed of yet. And so I caution you, don't let your good get in the way of your better, because if you can say, I already did that, then then you are primed and ready to move on to your next greater adventure. So ask yourself, what's mine to do? And be prepared that it may be something totally new and different. That's okay. Living on our growing edge is exactly where Spirit wants us and needs us, so that we're constantly transforming ourselves into a greater and greater ideal of who we are. I can't emphasize this enough. Too many times I've gotten comfortable in my life. Maybe you have too. And I have allowed myself to be lulled into a complacency. It's time to take those shackles off, my friends, and allow ourselves to move into what's mine to do right now. Not 20 years ago, what's mine to do right now? This is a really critical component of us being out there. I want to share with you another story of someone who also decided, you know what, this isn't right for me either. I'm moving on to something greater. I'd like you to meet Trey Ganem. Now, Trey, you might have seen recently in the news. Trey, he's the owner of Soul Shine Productions. Now, Trey used to rebuild and customize cars. He was really good at that, really good at it. And people would come from miles around because he was someone that they really could, turn their car over to, and he would absolutely be the one who could rebuild the engine. He could make it look fancy. He could bring in all these other aftermarket parts. And so he got really good in that segment. But one day he attended a funeral of a friend of his. And he was really struck by the fact his friend, who was also very creative, just had this plain, boring casket. And he thought, I wish that my friend's casket would have been a little bit more reflective of who he was as an individual. And he started thinking in that moment, what would I do if I had the opportunity to help people create a more beautiful way to exit this planet that really spoke about who they were? How would I do that? And from that moment on, he was obsessed with the idea, and he left his job of rebuilding and customizing cars, and he started a whole new business of personalizing caskets. And as he did so, his friends were thinking he was totally crazy, because they were like, wait a minute, you've got a great job, a great business. Why are you doing something completely different like that? But he said, it's the most important time of a family's life when they're at that funeral, the most tragic, and we try to make it as perfect and as personal as we can. When he was interviewed by USA Today, he said that to them, that he really wanted to make a difference in people's lives. The family could see, this is who our loved one was. This is what our loved one represented. And he said the whole payoff for him was seeing the smile on the family's faces. So when he got the call from the Texas Funeral Directors Association about a month ago, a little more than a month ago, they called him, and they had heard about him. And they said, because he's based in Texas, and they said, we've heard about these wonderful things that you do with your caskets, and we've just had this tragedy in Uvalde, Texas. The 19 victims of the shooting in the school in Uvalde. Would you be willing to work with the families and make these caskets personal for all of these victims, this tragedy, to help us find some light in this? And he said, of course, absolutely, I would. And so he and his staff immediately started working on that. He said they interviewed each of the families, and as the families gave them all of the, this person like this, and our loved one like this, he immediately started to put together these ideas. And as they created this child loved Toy Story, and so they created this beautiful casket with the Toy Story story on it. This child loves Superman, and so he made this custom just for this child. This one had a Disney princess theme. And so she loved the Disney princesses and she loved pink. And then this one loved TikTok. And you can see how he's working here on that. He created 19 caskets in 3.5 days. And he says, I still don't know how I did it. They were exhausted and they worked through the night and they just kept working and working. But he said, just knowing that these families had something that they could bury their children in, and the 2 adults that were a part of this, he said, we wanted to make sure that this was something that really stood out and made the families in this tragic time feel a little bit better, that their loved one was surrounded by these wonderful ideas of who they are and always will be in their hearts. That's someone who decided in a moment that he was on a path of integrity that had nothing to do with how much money he could make and how many followers he could have on Facebook. He said this was something that called to him. That wonderful song that we just heard, something's calling me. I think each and every one of us has that within us. Something is calling us. If we just have the spiritual ears to hear, if we just open it and open our eyes to see that there is something that Spirit is always saying, this is yours. This is yours, my beloved. You have the perfect gifts, the perfect skills, the perfect talents to go into creating something of enormous value on this planet. And in integrity, when we are in that divine flow, all the way is made smooth. The rocks are taken out of our path and everything just comes into place. What's mine to do is one of the most frequent questions I hear when people call me and ask me for coaching, for counseling. And they're like, I just don't know what that is yet. Now, I know that they know it. There's a block there. And so I try to help them discover what that is. What is mine to do? And one woman came to me and she said, I'm in a job that I just can't stand it anymore. The people around me are they're cutthroat. They stab you in the back. They're just awful people. And I just don't think I can hang on there any longer. And yet I know that I need the income and there's something that I need to keep doing, or at least find something. What should I do? And so we talked about what's mine to do. And I said to her, what if your only job there, forget about what you do for a living. What if your only job there was to go into that building, to go into that company and to be a light in the space of what you're calling very dark, the darkness that is there, and the people that are around you. What if that is your only job, just to be the light, and that Spirit has placed you in that place just to be the light? And she went, oh, I get it. Okay. And in the twinkling of an eye, she was transformed into someone who went, I understand what's mine to do now. She went back to work and she just started being the light. Now, the people around her, she didn't do anything different, really. She just was energetically in a different place because now she was free to love that which was. She was free to love people right where they were at and to know the truth about them, that they may be unskilled in how they behave, but they were still divine creatures. They were still the divine essence of God. And when she started seeing through those spiritual eyes, magically, things around her started changing. And then, of course, a few months later, another job came up that was totally perfect for her and allowed her to be released from that. But she had created her own prison by going, I hate this. I don't like it. I don't want to be here. And yet Spirit kept saying, there's something that is yours to do. There is something that will transform you as you transform yourself and transform the world around you. The integrity that she chose to stay with and to know the truth of her being, that she simply was an object, a vessel for love. She was simply a vessel for love to show up in that place, made all the difference in the world. I love this quote from this author, his name is Panache. Panache Decides, a great name. And Panache has this to say about that. He says, our job is the excuse through which we get to love people. Isn't that great? And he goes on to say, we are put in exactly the place that we need to be to love the people that we are around. Whew, take that in for a second. Because if I truly believe that I know that this is not a random universe, nothing happens by mistake in my life, and that the people and events of my life are there by divine calling in of something that my soul has asked for to bring me to a greater expression of the divine that I am, if I truly believe that, then that means that I'm in exactly the place that I need to be to love the people that are around me. We are being called to a greater sense, not only of ourselves, but of who we can be in this planet, who we can show up as, who we are here to know the truth about. And if I'm here to love, if I'm here to show up as a vessel of love, then that means that everyone around me gets to experience that. No questions asked. Not, well, I'll love them because they're a lot easier to love. Not them over there, though. That's not who I'm here to love. Baloney. We are here to show love each and every opportunity that we can. And so how can I serve? How can I serve is the question that I ask myself, because what's mine to do, the greater essence of that is, how can I serve? I had a teacher many years ago who said she just got up every morning, and that was the question that she asked in her meditation: how can I serve? And she said, you know what? Spirit always gave her that opportunity to show that she was here to serve in a unique way that only she could. Let me tell you a closing story about a gentleman who really figured out how he could serve. His name is Al Andrews. And Al had a private counseling practice in Nashville, Tennessee. And after about 2 years of doing his practice, he noticed that most of the people that were coming through the door for help, for counseling, were in the music industry. As a matter of fact, most of them were on the covers of albums. They were the singers, the songwriters. They were the ones who were out there, and they really needed help because they were on tour. Their marriages sometimes were suffering because of that. And so they really needed some help. But what he found was that because they were on tour, it was very hard for them to come on a regular basis. And it was even harder for some of them to afford to be able to continually come. So he noticed that. And as he was thinking about that, well, how can I serve them? A friend of his said to him, you know what, you should speak with Peter York. He's the head of a record label here in Nashville. And so he set up a meeting and he met with Peter. And Al said to Peter, you spend thousands of dollars on the right clothes, the right photographs, the right music for your individual singers, and yet you're not feeding their souls, and that's really what's lagging here. I think there's got to be a way for us to come together to really help to bridge the gap there. Well, they created a partnership with that because Peter said, you're absolutely right. There's something missing here. So Peter said, we're going to set up a pilot program. And so during that pilot program, several months, Peter said, you're going to take 1 day a week of your practice, and you're going to only serve musicians. Now, and he said, I'll pay for whoever comes in. The record label will pay for that. And he said, the only stipulation is if anybody comes in, whether they're on my record label or not, you will take care of them and we'll pay for it. And so Al said, that's great, I'll do that. So they tried this trial period. It was so successful that they decided to launch it even greater. And Al said, I finally found this was mine to do. And that question, how can I serve, had come about so beautifully in a way that I could have never imagined. And so Al said, I changed my for-profit company, my counseling practice, into a 501(c). It's a nonprofit now, and they call it the Porter's Call. And let me share one last screen with you on that. Oh, there we go. And Porter's Call is a nonprofit that is, again, in Nashville. And they named it Porter's Call because porters at Benedictine monasteries for centuries, porters were the ones who answered the door when a traveler came up to the door and knocked on the door. And the porter would be the one who opened the door, would welcome the traveler and say, "Oh, we're so glad you're here. Can I get you some food? Would you like a bed to sleep in? What else, can I water your horse? What more can I do to serve you?" And so Porter's Call has since become a huge success. You can go onto their website and you can actually donate to this beautiful cause, because now it serves any touring musician, whether they're on a record label or independent, and they serve this community at a very high level of skill and care, and just take care of it. As a matter of fact, Thomas Rhett, who is one of the leading country music artists today, had this to say, because he said, "You know what? I just know that every time I'm out here, I get to the point where I am moving into, I know that Porter's Call saved my marriage. I know that this is something that saved my marriage. It allows me to be on the road for all these days of the year. I couldn't have done this without Porter's Call." And it's because of that, Porter's Call is now a model for other industries out there. How can we serve? How can we serve the greater good? And so I invite you today, when you know that you want to live a life of integrity, the way of integrity, how do you step up and say, "What's mine to do? And how can I serve?" And allow Spirit to guide you and direct you. Because I know that even if you don't know the answer to that question, something within you does. I trust that. And I know that for you. I invite you this week to sit with that idea. How can I serve? How can I serve and be in integrity with the divine essence of who I truly am? Let's take that into prayer. I invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Let's all take a deep breath. I've just thrown a whole lot at you. Let's take a deep breath in and let it out, and just breathe into that deep knowingness, because we are here to be representatives of Spirit. We know that we here at Unity of Bellevue, we are the beacon on the hill. We know that in all the walks of life that each of us are in, whether we're working, retired, student, it doesn't matter. Spirit has the perfect divine right action for us. And so I know now that each person within the capability who's hearing this, my voice, hearing this message, whether it's taped or whether they're hearing it live, there is something quickening in them right now. And so I know that Spirit is calling them to a greater good. Spirit is transforming them, quickening them, allowing a greater sense of consciousness to come into the playing field. And they are saying yes, yes to that idea. And so I just bless our time together this morning. I know that each one of us has our own unique path with our own gifts and skills to give to the world. And I know that I am saying yes to that right now. I bless our time together. I bless the consciousness that is calling this ministry into a greater expression itself as we welcome a new interim minister, that there is a greater good that is happening here for each and every individual, and the lives that it touches today, tomorrow, and forever are going to be magnified by the good that we are calling in today. So I lift my heart knowing that there is great good that is on the scene, and we are simply saying, thank you, Spirit, for the opportunity to be a part of serving that greater good. And together we say, and so it is.
From a distance, the world looks blue and green, and the snow-capped mountains are white. From a distance, the ocean meets the stream, and the eagle takes to flight. From a distance, there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. It's the voice of hope, it's the voice of peace, it's the voice of every man. From a distance, we all have enough, and no one is in need. There are no guns, no bombs, and no diseases, no hungry mouths to feed. From a distance, we are instruments marching in a common band, playing songs of hope, playing songs of peace. They're the songs of every man. God is watching us, God is watching us, God is watching us from a distance. From a distance, you look like my friend, even though we are at war. From a distance, I cannot comprehend what all this fighting is for. From a distance, there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. It's the hope of hopes, it's the love of loves, it's the heart of every man. It's the hope of hopes, it's the love of loves. This is the song of every man. God is watching us, God is watching us, God is watching us from a distance. God is watching us, God is watching us, God is watching us from a distance. God is watching us, God is watching us, God is watching us from a distance. From a distance.
Wow. Good morning. I'm Dorothy Bostetter. I am your board treasurer, and I'm your board host today. And I'm going to start by saying I'm slightly speechless. So hopefully God will speak
give me something. That was really powerful. Thank you, Reverend Sally, and thank you, Becky and Matt. That was pretty remarkable. Many of you know that I have been placed in a state that I never thought I would live. If you ever want to know what that state is, come ask me. And I realized today, listening to Reverend Sally, that she just articulated what I've been feeling in my heart for the last 5 months, that God has a reason that I'm there. God put me there. Kicking and screaming, perhaps, but God put me there. So what is mine to do? And God has also kept me here because I am still to serve here as your board treasurer. And it's a lot, and it's my pleasure because it's what I'm been told to do by God. So I'm really grateful for hearing that message today. And I trust that all of you heard a message for you that is resonant for you and true for you. And if you don't know what that is, you will soon know. Keep asking. Part of what we do here at the center is come together to be reminded of who we are and what we are here to do. And part of that is how we are to serve with our financial gifts and the blessings of our abundance, to give back to the community, to keep it circulating within our lives and within the center's life, so we can keep coming back and being reminded and joining community together. For those of you in the sanctuary, there's a basket at the back. For those of you online, on the screen are the ways to give your gifts of love and financial blessings. As you hold your gift in your heart, please join me in our offering affirmation. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is.
We give thanks for these tithes and love offerings, knowing they are sourced from divine love to support our community and its mission, to spiritually awaken and transform the world. And we know this is happening in us and through us, that the world is waking up, that we are coming more into alignment with our calling, with our true selves, with our integrity. We dedicate these gifts to expanding our vision and mission, that all might know who they truly are as we co-create the beloved community together. We are so grateful, and so it is. Good morning again. My name is Monica McDowell-Elvig. I'm your center administrator, and last Sunday as temporary operations manager. We are, yes, yay. We are grateful that Reverend Denise Schellink will be with us next Sunday as she starts as our transitional consultant. We look forward to having you in person and online to meet her then. She starts with staff this week, and we'll just keep giving you more details as we know more, but look forward to meeting her next week. If you are visiting with us for the first time, we open our hearts to you. We invite you to take a welcome packet there to the doors left of our sanctuary doors as you exit. And they're online. You can go to our website, unityofbellevue.org. At the I'm New page is a button you can click to get a welcome packet sent to you. You can also fill out a connection card in that welcome packet or in your seat back so that we can find out more about you and what some of your interests are. We'd love to hear from you. The best way to stay in touch with everything that's happening is to sign up for our weekly e-newsletter, and that sign-up form is on the bottom of every page on our website. The prayer chaplains are always here to pray with you and for you. Lori Coleman will be leading a prayer circle in the library following service. That is hybrid, and so if you would like to join online, you can go to our launch page on our website and click on the Zoom link. Powerful affirmative prayer together is transformative, and so we invite you to join Lori. We are also looking at forming some hiking groups, perhaps this summer, if the sun, is a more permanent feature in the sky. Brian Brewer has volunteered to lead those hikes. If you are interested in being on the email list for that, please let me know. Women Connect meets this Saturday at 10:30 in the building in the Friendship Room. You can connect with Linda for more details. Women Connect is also doing a towel drive for the Sophia Way. They can be new or used, towels even raggy, I am told. So bring in your towels here on Sundays and Wednesdays. And there's a bin in the atrium for those towels. Next Sunday at 12:30, we will be having a memorial service here for our beloved member, Bob DeWald, who made his transition this past week. So look for more details about that, but 12:30 next week here. And finally, a big thank you to all of our volunteers that make this service possible, our AV team, ushers, greeters, building monitor, song leader, building monitor, all of you. Thank you very much. We're so appreciative of your service and care for us. Big thank you also to Reverend Sally for that powerful talk. We know we're going to get something powerful when Reverend Sally talks. So we're grateful again for your wisdom. And Becky and Matt, thank you for being our guest artists again. That was awesome. And again, next week is Reverend Denise, and she'll be joined by Jean Mann, who will be our guest artist. So let's close us out with the peace song and prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you, everyone. Blessings. Have a great week. Happy Father's Day.